Welcome to Get Your Bell Rung, a pro wrestling podcast. This is our Friday Night SmackDown recap. And with me is Robbie Idol, WCW professional wrestler, ECW, and as well as author. How are you, my man?
I'm good. How you doing, KG?
I am doing great, man. A lot of things to talk about. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do the recap for Dynamite. I had internet issues. Unfortunately, my internet went out. But something came out of Dynamite that is causing a little bit of controversy. I'm going to read you something from Brian Idol, NWA TV Championship. Someone that he's been on the podcast once. I just spoke to him a couple of days ago. I'm hoping that he'll be able to come on again to talk about this pretty soon. But let me read this. This is regards to the new national title as AEW made the announcement that they are bringing, their words, bringing back, which I kind of agree with what Brian said here. He said, this is the lamest thing in the history of wrestling. AEW and Tony Khan are trying to use the NWA National Championship as one of their belts and pretending as if we don't currently have the originator and original champion, Austin Idol, and the current national champion, Mike Mondo, on the active NWA roster. This is relations for AEW already, or retaliation, for AEW already currently losing a lawsuit the NWA over the use of intellectual property. So now they are trying to stir the pot by having Tony Khan's Richie Rich announce this tonight. Khan is bad enough. You were clearly a money mark who bought his way into the business, but even worse, that you would blatantly try to steal the legacy of another existing company because you perceive it to be something you can buy your way out of in court. Pathetic. Now look, I'm an AEW fan. I am. But more importantly to that, Robbie, I'm a wrestling fan. And, you know, people can say what they want about the titles, including professional wrestlers. You know, I've heard them say, don't think as a prop, right? But as a fan, right, a fan's perspective, someone who loves professional wrestling, I believe in preserving and respecting the history of professional wrestling, including the titles. And I have to agree with Brian when it comes to this with the NWA title. AEW is not a part of the NWA. They should even have claims to NWA and the history of NWA. I listened to them when they announced this title, and they went on to talk about those great trailblazers who held the title that they are now bringing to AEW. I think it's wrong. It's really disappointing, my opinion. What is your take on it as a professional wrestler?
You know, well, I agree with you. I mean, even as a professional wrestler, you're still a fan.
Right.
You know, I mean, because we all started out as fans, and that's how we, you know, the ones that were lucky enough to get there, most of us, I would say, are still fans. You know, obviously, you know, I'm watching it. So yes, I'm a fan of it. I have to agree with you. I mean, you would think you would respect the history of it. You know, that's history. That's, you know, the same, like we've talked about this with Tony Khan, and, you know, you obviously bought your way into the business.
Right.
You've done some good things. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I like some of the stuff AEW has done, and some of the stuff I don't like that they have done. Right. But that's kind of like disrespectful. You know, that's because there isn't, you know, yes, you have some people that were part of the NWA. Unfortunately, like you know, one of the guys you have, we've talked about him too. You know, he's like a little high school bitch, and he's one of their announcers.
Tony Schiavone. And I was getting to Tony next. Go ahead. Yeah.
So you had one of the greatest, and Jim Ross, one of the greatest announcers ever, and I guess his health and everything like that. So you have some stake, and I imagine there's some guys, some wrestlers and stuff like that not on the top of my head right now that are from the NWA or had part of that. Well, like Dustin, his dad was a big part of the NWA. So you have some, interchangeable parts in there, but that's just kind of disrespectful doing that stuff. Never met Brian Idol. I'd like to meet him, just because we got the same last wrestling name, I have to agree with them. I mean, I just think that's wrong. You would think you would respect that, that's part of history. So you'd respect it.
Right. And I agree with you. And regardless of Tony Schiavone, I know the man has a job to do. Tony Khan is his boss. He gets paid to do what obviously Tony Khan tells him to. But Tony Khan was a big part of NWA back in the day, calling the matches as an announcer. I don't know what Tony Schiavone's what his feedback was to Tony Khan about this. But I really hope that Tony Schiavone at least had the balls to say, look, Tony Khan, this is kind of, this doesn't really look very good, man. Because I also have to believe that JR, who is still part of AEW, he's just, because of health stuff, he's not on very often. They bring him back during their pay-per-views to call one match. But I have to imagine that, JR would have stepped up and said something, considering that he is supposedly such a wrestling purist. Now, again, I don't know the conversations. I'm not there. I don't see what's going on behind the scenes. Tony Schiavone, being the person that he is, could have just said, yeah, whatever, just give me my check. I don't care. But I can tell you that I care, and obviously you care.
Right. Well, and here's my take on Schiavone. I had very little interaction with him. He was, when I had any interaction with him, which I said was very little, he was a very arrogant little prick. He thought he was somebody more special than what he was. He walked around backstage like he was larger than life. He basically did not talk to any of us, the enhancement talent, like we were, nothing and stuff like that. He had nothing to do with them. And how he got his job is because he was buddies with Crockett. And so I just think Schiavone's a suck up. That's my personal take on him. I never liked him. And like I said, now I dislike him more. And like what you had brought up about Logan Paul, when I saw him on Wednesday night in the ring and him talking, Schiavone has one of those faces you just want to punch. You just want to punch him. Yeah, I'm sorry. And knowing him, that how, like he's got that, he thinks he's larger than life. I mean, I hope he's been humbled, but I doubt it. I really doubt it. I imagine with all those guys going, a legend, and all that, I imagine that's going to his head.
Yeah.
My take.
Well, I never met the guy. Last year, AEW came to Minneapolis, and shockingly, I was able to get a media pass. Not the type of media pass I was able to go backstage, but a media pass where I was able to walk around the arena and take pictures. And I got near the announcer's desk, and I went to take a picture of it was Tony Schiavone and Taz, I believe, and Excalibur. Excalibur and Taz looked directly at me and just kind of smiled a little bit for me. Schiavone actually turned his miserable looking face, so I couldn't get him in the picture. And I watched him during the entire show, and he just has this look on his face like he's miserable, like he hates his job. And I'm thinking, my God, I would pay to do your job if I could.
Right.
I don't know, man. I just don't get it sometimes. Yeah. But again, I'm not Tony Schiavone. I don't know the man personally. I don't want to judge him because I don't know what he's like in real life. You kind of have a better grasp of, but Yeah, this whole announcement really just kind of got under my skin. And then when I seen Brian's post on it, again, the NWA TV champion, I'm like, this guy hit it dead on. He really did. And I tell you what, it made me, yeah, I like Brian. There's people out there who have their opinion of Brian. He's already treated me well, right?
Right.
Every time he talks, he's been so great to me, regardless of being in person or on the phone. Seeing Brian post this though, maybe even have a little bit more respect for him. It made it grow because, he's a guy who truly seems like, at least he truly cares, not only about the business, but about the history of the business and what it means. So props to him, at least in my opinion, for coming out and making that post.
Right. I agree with you. I agree. I've never met him. I've heard, through the grapevine about him and stuff. Like you saying with like Shivani, I wouldn't, on Brian, I wouldn't make any judgment because I've never met him. So I have no idea, I have no opinion. I've worked with somebody like help because I had at TWA, I'm helping some of the guys that are trying to get into professional wrestling. So I'm like a part-time trainer there, and had one of his students come out there and I've, worked with him. The kid knew what he was doing. So, obviously him training people, he obviously knew what he was doing. So, the kid wasn't bad. So, hey, I have no opinion. Like I said, I never met the guy. I have heard people have a few opinions about him. I don't know him, so whatever. Till I meet him, I can't make an opinion. But yeah, I mean, I respect his opinion. I mean, kudos to him,
Right. Now, I tell you what has really disappointed me, although it's expected, is at least as of right now, as we do this podcast, the silence from people like Sean Ross Sapp and Dave Mesner, or Meltzer, whatever you pronounce his last name. The fact that these guys were so quick to, they're so quick to point their finger at anything WWE does, right? But yet, here's something that I think should be covered by wrestling media, but these guys aren't saying anything about it. And that's really disappointing, especially from, like I said, Dave and Sean Ross Sapp, who is a loudmouth to begin with. Yeah, it's just it really bothers me. It really does. But let's get to WWE Friday Night SmackDown. I'm going to be honest. This show was a little tough for me to watch at times. There were some good matches, but it seemed like the show dragged on, in my opinion. Let's go to the open segment. Cody Rhodes got out there, talked a little bit about Saturday Night Main Event. But he said, hey, you know what? I want to go watch the show with the fans before he can get to the fans. Of course, Aleister Black came out with his wife, and I'm a huge fan of Aleister Black. I like this segment. The thing that I was hoping was when they made the match for the main event that Cody Rhodes' title would be on the line. Or at least the stipulation would have been if Aleister Black beats Cody Rhodes, he becomes the number one contender. We didn't get that, but nonetheless, we still got a match scheduled for the main event, Aleister Black versus Cody Rhodes. What did you think about this segment?
Well, at least we're changing it. My thought when I saw Cody and he started talking, I thought, oh God, when's Drew coming out? That was as soon as I saw Cody come into the ring and stuff, how long did it take for Drew? Because I figured, okay, we're going to get the same old, but when Black came out, I'm like, okay, we're at least juggling it up. We're changing here a little bit. So I appreciated that. And they didn't let Cody go into a long, they kept it short, which was good.
Yep, that was my thing, man. This was under 20 minutes. And I'm like, wow. The fact that it was under 20 minutes made it really, really good. Next, we go to the United States Championship match, the Dragunov. It is the open challenge match for the United States Championship. Now, they kind of want us to believe, as Dragunov was making his way to the ring, that he be maybe facing someone from MFT, My Family Tree. I hate that name. Because he came,
I know, right?
he came face to face with one of the guys. He gets to the ring, and of course, Ciampa comes out. But Dragunov, says, you know what, I'll accept the challenge from Gargano. Now, this is the second time Dragunov has dodged, in my opinion, facing Ciampa. I know what they're trying to do, Robbie, but in my opinion, it makes Dragunov look weak. He's saying this is an open challenge. Twice Ciampa has come to the ring to want to take him up on his challenge, and twice now Ciampa has avoided facing him. What are your thoughts on that aspect of it?
Well, doesn't it make Ciampa look weak by not, because he passed it off to Gargano? Doesn't it make Ciampa look weak?
Right.
Wasn't a bad match, but right. Yeah, you would think, you're kind of making Ciampa look, you're making him look a little weak in it. Wasn't a bad match though, Right.
Well, I see, and I think Dragunov is the one that's looking weak because he's the one that's calling the open challenge match. He's the one that's the champion, but yet it seems like he just doesn't want to face. The storyline is saying he doesn't want to face Ciampa for whatever reason. So he's the one that I actually think looks weak in this. I see your point though. Ciampa, they could have him being more aggressive about the situation, him saying, no, you're not fighting Johnny Gargano, you're facing me. Obviously, I think that this is going to lead at some type of a PLE match between Dragunov and Ciampa, which is honestly why they're not having these two guys to meet in the ring just yet.
Right. Do you think, you also makes you kind of wonder a little bit, are they setting this up to split up Ciampa and Johnny Gargano? You wonder if they're going to split them. I agree with the pay-per-view thing, but you also wonder, are they going to split this tag team up?
Right. And I'll be honest with you, I would love if they did, not because I don't like these guys as tag teams, because look, I think Johnny Gargano and Ciampa, two talented guys. They're very entertaining, especially together. But one of the best feuds in the past 10 years, in my opinion, was when Gargano and Ciampa had that big feud in NXT. My God, that was like a main event on the main roster type of a feud that these two had. They worked great together. So it wouldn't hurt my feelings if they broke them up. Now, as far as this match last night, I agree with you. I enjoyed the Dragunov and Gargano match. Of course, Dragunov walked off as a champion. What do you think about Dragunov's finisher that he has where he comes, off the ropes running and lands with the elbow? But it looks brutal. It really does. I like this finisher.
I like it. It looks brutal. The kid's a good worker. He's good. I don't know how he works without knee pads. I'm like, you'll be regretting that one of these days. But
well, I tell you what, I encourage you to go search, just type in Dragunov's workout, right?
Yes, I have seen some of them.
Oh my God. He is right. Look, I was a guy back in my younger years that lived in the gym, right? I worked out, I lifted weights for 45 minutes an hour and then did damn near 2-hour cardio, right? I did massive hard workouts. And even back then, I don't think I could keep up with this kid. Shit. My mouth dropped when I seen his workout. Incredible.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was like, wow, that's, some of the stuff he was doing was just crazy. I mean, I was like you when back in the day, I was a gym rat,
Yeah.
and we didn't do a lot of cardio, but we lifted, you did a lot of, reps and sets and stuff like that, Same thing. I agree with you. I don't know that I could have hung with him. Even
Yeah.
back in the days that, coming in there as an athlete and stuff before I, got into like training like I did. But I don't know if I could have hung with him. His workouts are brutal. I mean,
Right.
credit to him,
Yeah. One reason I spent it, because people will say doing that much of a workout, it actually breaks your muscles down, right? I did that type of workout, one for strength, because I liked hiking and I like climbing over things like rocks and stuff when I needed to. And the cardio aspect of it was, I would do 20, 25-mile hikes. So I needed to keep my cardio up.
Right.
That's why I had such that, the way I used to work out Next, the next segment, we go to Jade Cargill. She addresses everyone since that squash match that she had. I hate to call it a squash match because you're talking about it against Tiffany Stratton, but that's exactly what it was. She dominated that match, Saturday night's main event. She is the new women's champion. Now, my takeaway from that wasn't what she said, but it was how Charlotte Flair, as Jade got done talking, and before she would get to the back, Charlotte interrupted this. They had a face-off. There was a point that Charlotte Flair had to be pulled back by her tag team partner. Do you think that we are heading sooner than later to a Charlotte Flair Jade Cargill match? And if so, what's your thoughts on it? I will tell you that I don't like it. I think it's too soon for Charlotte. I think that what Charlotte's doing right now with Alexa Bliss is absolutely great. And my fear is that they're going to cause some type of a rift in order between Charlotte and Alexa to get her to Jade. And although right now, Robbie, the fans love Charlotte Flair, I strongly believe that if they put her back in that title picture right now, the fans are going to turn on her again because they're okay with her being a tag team champion. I don't think the fans want to see her back in that position of once again going after a world title. Not just yet. That's just my opinion. I could be dead wrong. You know more about the sport than I do. What say you?
Well, I don't know about that, but my thoughts were, thank God they didn't let her talk long on the mic, because I think Jade's just brutal on the mic. So they cut it short, and I thought, great. I saw that, and I, made me wonder, are we heading that way? Here's my take on it. My take was, when she was in the ring, I was waiting for fat ass Nia Jax to come down there, and I thought, oh God, this is what we're going to get, and this is going to be absolutely horrible. But we didn't, and we saw the Charlotte. I don't know that she can hang with Charlotte. I don't think, like I said, I think they gave her the ball too soon. I don't know that she's ready to run with it, but now we're going to find out. I think I would have let Tiffany finish out the year as the champion. Only a couple more months, and that was my take, because, she's not bad on the mic. She's a great worker. To me, she's way better than Jade. I mean, yes, Jade's a physical specimen. I think if they set this up with her and Flair, I don't know that she can hang with Charlotte.
Right.
She just, you watch her, she will look good at some, during the match, but you'll also have miscues in the match. I don't know that she could, she can hang with Charlotte, because Charlotte's, just the experience Charlotte's had. Right. And I agree. If you do that, I mean, I'd love to see Charlotte break her dad's record, make her 18-time, 19-time champion. I don't have an issue with it. To me, being a former athlete, you were always taught records are made to be broken. Right. So But I totally agree. I think if they do that and they take the strap off of Jade and put it on Charlotte, the fans will definitely turn on Charlotte. And, we just know how wrestling fans are.
Right. Yeah. So let me address a couple of things that you said. Let's talk about Tiffany Stratton and them taking the title to give it to Jade. I agree with you, and I'll tell you why. When Tiffany first got the title, I'll be honest, I said it was too soon. Didn't think she was ready for it. And I think that during the build-up to WrestleMania between her and Charlotte, we seen that it was too soon. Tiffany was nervous. You could tell that the nerves were getting to her because even in the matches on SmackDown, she was making a lot of mistakes. Her promos started to slip, but she pulled it together. She pulled it together and had a hell of a match with Charlotte at WrestleMania. One of the best matches, in my opinion, on WrestleMania. And after that, you've seen her turn that corner. It was like she proved to herself that she could do this. And she really, at that point, after WrestleMania, took the ball and really ran with it. I think that she started to really shine as the champion. And I think that taking the title off of her and putting it on Jade at the point that she was really starting to shine, I think they did an injustice to Tiffany Stratton because I don't think we've seen the complete potential just yet. So I think they should have let her go with it a little bit longer, even to the rest of the year. Fine. Have her drop it at WrestleMania against Jade. Let her defend it 2 times at WrestleMania, right? So I agree with that. Jade, she's definitely better than what she was in AEW. I give her that. But I agree with you that I don't think she's all that. I really don't. I'm not going to say that she's bad in the ring, especially since, again, I'm not a professional wrestler. I couldn't do half of what she does. So I'm not going to talk garbage about her. She's a good performer. But I don't think she's world championship material just yet.
No, I mean, I guess, now we're going to find out. I mean, and it's funny because if you listen to the crowd, they were, again, here we go with wrestling fans, the fickle, like we booed her before. Now we're cheering for her. We're all happy that, here she is, now she's got the championship. It's funny how they just, flip flop back and forth,
Yep. I agree. Now I will say that I am glad that they turned Jade heel because I just couldn't suspend my disbelief enough to truly view her as a babyface. I'm sorry, I just can't.
Yeah, I mean, because I know we'll get to it in that part, and then I guess I'll go on from there. But yeah, she definitely is a better heel than a babyface.
Right. Next segment. Next match, Nia Jax versus Charlotte Flair. This was a decent match because of Charlotte Flair. Let's just be honest. The big takeaway was Lash Legend debuting. She jumped Alexa Bliss, which distracted Charlotte Flair long enough for Nia Jax to capitalize, giving Nia Jax the win. Now, I'll be honest with you. A team of Nia Jax and Lash Legend, I'm not hating it because they're 2 big women and they look dominating. Now, how well will they work together in the ring? I don't know, but at least on paper, visually, not hating it.
Yeah, I'm not a Lash fan. I won't go where I was. So I won't say nothing about that part on Lash. But to me, Nia got a job. The only reason to me she has a job is because of The Rock. I don't, she's still like what Bailey said, that, bumbling around, stumbling in the ring and stuff. You see some moments last night when she did it. You know,
Right.
she's, you know, she's that. But the other part you take away from this is you kind of push her as, you know, they're talking about her, oh, the irresistible force, but now all of a sudden you needed somebody to help you to beat Charlotte. And in a way, in that match, she didn't look like that big dominant force. I mean, she had her moments, but you know, now you have to have Lash come out and help, you know, like distract you so you could win the match. I mean, you wonder sometimes on like the creative team where their thoughts are, you know, what you're trying to portray with this person and stuff, and then you kind of do the opposite.
Right. I tell you, the character that Nia Jax plays on TV is so opposite of who she is. I had the opportunity years ago, my kids were little, and I've told this story of how I made kind of an ass of myself, and for the first time was truly a mark, right? Without trying to be a mark. We're sitting in the airport. My wife says, "That's Charlotte Flair." I say, "No way." Sure as shit, it's Charlotte Flair. My kids were little at the time. They love Charlotte Flair. So all 6'5" of me got up and said, "Charlotte." I scared the shit out of her. She had this look on her face like, oh my God, who is this idiot? And the moment I said, my kids are fans of yours, that's when, she's seen my kids, that's when you seen her relax. Right now, here I am looking like a big tool. But Charlotte's like, hey, we kids like a picture, which was very kind considering that I was an idiot. And I'm like, sure. Well, Nia Jax was with her. And I told Nia, I said, you know, we'd love for you to get in the picture if you want to. Nia Jax is extremely shy. She was very much like, no, thank you. Very soft-spoken, very surprising to see how she carried herself and her tone when she spoke. Yeah, so very opposite of her character, or at least 30 seconds that I got to, you know, experience her.
Wow. But funny story, it doesn't have with wrestling, but the same thing. Only I didn't mark out. I wish I did. Honestly, if I could go back to that time, I would have marked out. We went to see Seven Dust, and we were in Ybor City, and we were at a restaurant, and used to pick your food, take it, the kitchen was in the middle. They cooked it in front of you. I'm looking, there's like a table full of 8 guys over there, you know, different, you know, see all these crazy hairdos, colors and stuff. And I'm like, cool, you know, different. And at the time I was wrestling in the indies. So it was like 99. So I'm like, I have no room to talk. I do the same thing. This guy gets up and he starts walking by me. He's got braids all over and stuff. And I'm looking at him. And I'm like, I know this guy. How do I know him? Walks by me. I'm like, how the hell do I know him? Gets about halfway out the restaurant. I'm like, son of a bitch, that's Morgan Rose, the drummer of Seven Dust. I was going to go running through the restaurant like a little high school girl going, Morgan, Morgan, just for a chance to talk to him. And I went, don't do it, Robert. Don't do it. And that inner voice stopped me. But if I could go back and do it again, I wish I went running through the restaurant to meet him, because I've seen him in a few interviews, and he seems like a great guy. And in my opinion of what I watch and like listening to bands and stuff, to me, he's one of the greatest all-time drummers. And I could have said, I got a chance to meet Morgan Rose and talk to him, but I went, don't do it. And I didn't do it.
Yeah, you actually have a great taste in music. You know, that experience, what I did to Charlotte Flair, was actually the thing that made me force myself to say, I will never, ever be one of those people again, especially at airports. It's selfish. They're not on the clock. They're trying to get to their next stop. I swear, if I ever run Charlotte Flair again, although she will never remember me, she'll never remember that incident. Just to make myself feel better, I'm going to apologize to her. But it's hard sometimes because when I went to Fan Fest in Kansas with Herb Simmons, you know, I met so many people that, you know, I was able to have direct access to because of some relationships I've already had. And I'll be honest, because I am such a wrestling fan, it was I had to make myself not mark out,
Right.
to be that professional, especially when I met Miss Barbara Goodish because of who her husband was.
Right.
Oh man, I just couldn't believe I was talking to her. But yes, it's difficult sometimes, but it's like I just don't ever want to be perceived as that guy again, man. Because to this day, I've been embarrassed about it.
Well, and I did
go
this. Well, in the same thing, it was funny. It must have been a golf tournament. We were in Outback, and I'm sitting, and so he was at an angle from me. Being, thought I was always going to play pro baseball and stuff. You watched and stuff, and he was like one of the kids you used to watch. And he was one of the all-time great pitchers and stuff. And I'm like, I know him. And then I realized who it was, and he was with his family. And he kind of, I guess he kind of sensed that I'm looking at him, and he looked at me, and I just kind of gave him a nod. I'm like, don't do it. Don't go over, because don't draw attention to him because nobody else is knowing who he is. It was Bert Blyleven from the Twins.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I saw him, and you wanted to go over and go, wow, I used to watch you pitch when I was a kid and stuff. But, he's with his family. It's at dinner. You go, would you put yourself, you put yourself in that position and go, would you want people, and you're going, if somebody sees you talking and then all of a sudden recognizes them, now he's going to get bombarded. So I just kind of let it go. But he knew he figured, okay, he knows who I am, but I just let it go. I just, it would have been cool to say, hey, Mr. Blyleven, how you doing? Nice to meet you. You're, one of the best and stuff, but you just have family time, and that's,
Yep, absolutely. And by the way, I mentioned the name Barbara Goodish for all of you so-called fans who obviously live under a rock. That is the wife of course, Bruiser Brody. And it's sad that I even have to explain who she is and who her husband is. That's what's wrong with today's wrestling fans, man. They don't know the history of wrestling and anything about the trailblazers who made wrestling what it is today, beyond maybe the Attitude Era. It draws me nuts sometimes. Next, we go to the Women's United States Championship match. Julia versus Chelsea Green. Man, I feel like they have really dropped the ball with both of these ladies. They really have, in my opinion. I'm not going to say it's a great match. It was a decent match, though. What are your thoughts? And man, what's going on? You would think that being that Julia is the Women's United States champion, that they would have a lot of focus on her. And I don't feel like they do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I watched her in NXT and stuff. I don't see the appeal for Julia. I don't get it, because I guess they either haven't let her work long enough or show her style. That that's my take on it. In the same like Chelsea, but for what Chelsea has done, Chelsea is great. I'm a big Chelsea Green fan. For all the stuff that all the people she's put over in the past, and finally, to win that title when she won it back then, and now to win it again. Hopefully they'll let her run with this for a little bit longer. For the way she works, the way she does that character and everything, she's great.
Yep. Now, go ahead.
I'm a big fan of Chelsea. I'm a big fan of Chelsea. I've seen like stuff from her out on the independent circuit and stuff like that, and I was a big fan. And when she got to the WWE, I was like, wow, they're not really letting her work. They're kind of just jobbing her out here. And then, I guess she must, just did her job, collected her check, didn't bitch and complain. And then they finally said, okay, let's push her, which was a good, and I'm happy for her. I don't know her personally. I like her, just, what she's, how she's portrayed that character and the way she's carried it. I think she's great.
Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a Chelsea Green fan. Not because of Chelsea Green. Not because of Chelsea Green, because I agree with you. She's so talented. It's because of WWE that's made me not a fan of her, because I hate the silly ass character that she's playing, because I am familiar with the indie work, and she was so great at the indie scene. She got to WWE, and WWE does what they do. I call it, she got WWE-nized. but they don't allow her to work. So that's why I'm not a fan of hers. It's not because of her. It's because of the character that she's portraying right now.
Right.
I'm just not a fan of it. Now, Kiana James and Alba Fire were fighting at ringside. Now, did I miss something here? When did Chelsea Green and Alba Fire turn into baby faces? Or are they not baby faces? Are we seeing two heels fight each other, having a feud against one another? I'm a little lost here.
I think you were seeing two heels having a feud. I mean, that's the way I think Chelsea's over with the crowd.
Absolutely, she is.
But
yes.
So she's over. So, but yeah, in their mind, in WWE's mind, or the creators, she's still, because of the way they're having her portray that character, she's still that heel. So you had two heels going at it.
Right. Now, I tell you what, for those who are fans of Chelsea Green and you think that she is a great worker inside the ring for WWE, which she is, let me tell you something. If you think that she's good in WWE, go watch her freaking matches on YouTube on the indie scene. Some of the shit that she can do will blow your mind. Mind.
And I mean, I came across it within the last couple months, her and Penta.
Yes.
Even if you don't watch the indie stuff, just pull her up with Penta. For the two of them that worked from Lucha Underground, because I think the reason why I missed it was the stations that my provider, they didn't carry Lucha Underground at that time. So that part, I missed that and didn't even know it. And then something popped up and it came up that way. And I watched that match with her and Penta. Absolutely great. I mean, the way that she worked with Penta was, fantastic. And even if you don't, like any of you other wrestling fans don't watch anything else, go watch that match. That will blow your mind.
Yeah, it was that match, actually, believe it or not, that made me dig further into Chelsea or the indie scene. It was that match right there. I mean, that was just oh my gosh, man. What an incredible match. Can you imagine if WWE said, you know what? We will let you guys have that type of match for a pay-per-view, right? People would lose their minds. Now, look, I'll say this much. But, I talk shit about, people being WWE nice. I get it. It makes sense. WWE is preserving the health and the longevity of these people's careers, right? Because you go back to AEW and you have the type of matches that your Darby Allins constantly have every single match, right? Even, when you talk about, Will Ospreay, as much as I love him, they're not going to have long careers. They're not going to. So I get it. These people are investments that WWE is putting their money in. They want to make sure these guys and ladies stay healthy, and the longevity of it is what they're looking at. I get it 100%.
Well,
but I do think they still go a little bit overboard with it, though.
Okay, but I have to disagree with you on maybe part of it, and we're going to go back even further because when they had him, they did not take care of him. So we'll go back and we'll say ECW. Look at the stuff that ECW did. Look at XPW out of from back in LA and the stuff that they did. Were some of those guys good workers at? Who knows? I mean, but you look at like New Jack and, some other of the guys, the stuff that they did, the guy that they did the same shit with, and you go, they really didn't take care of him, and how he survived all that shit was Spike Dudley.
Yeah. True.
WWE, they did the same thing that he was doing in, ECW. They were throwing him out of the ring and throwing him through tables and to the floor. And it was like, okay, but were their thoughts, he's replaceable?
Right. But we're talking about, though, a WWE 20 years ago.
Okay.
The Attitude Era. I think now, though, WWE really watches what they do. And we're going to actually get to a prime example where I'm talking to and actually the next match, which is a good segue into it. Tula Tonga versus Ray Phoenix. First, let me say this. I hate the name Tula. Really? Tall guy. Is this why we say Tula? It's spelled Talla. Really? Come on. Yeah. But Tula Tonga versus Ray Phoenix. Now, think about Ray Phoenix a couple years ago in AEW. Some of the things that he did was absolutely incredible. He gets to WWE, and his brother Penta too. They get to WWE. Now they're mostly mat wrestlers, right? They still do a few of their things, but it's mostly mat wrestlers. I can tell you that myself, I don't enjoy Ray Phoenix or Penta as much as I used to because of that. This was a decent match, but here's a question for you. Why does every big guy have to do the damn freaking choke slam for a fucking finish? That drives me nuts. Insane. It's like
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I will say this. I figured it was going to be a squash match. Mm-hmm. I just figured it was just going to come out and just be a squash match. So in a way, I was happy to see they at least let Phoenix have some, more. He got more of a moment than I thought he was going to get. And I mean, he got to I won't say showcase the stuff, but some of that stuff where he ran the ropes and kicked them and stuff like that was like, wow, you would think you would take him and Penta and stick them together and stick them in the tag team as well as they've worked together and being a tag team. You'd think you just put them back together and let them challenge. I mean, I think that would kind of be cool and let them go, because you look at, and you tell me your thoughts on this. I mean, I've seen some of the guys they brought in from, and I guess they put them in AA or NXT, the AA thing from Mexico.
Right.
Are they going to start changing some of those guys? Because like you've seen a few of them on NXT and they've done some crazy stuff. You wonder if they're going to try to tone them down.
Right. Right. I think they're going to.
So,
yeah, I mean, look,
okay.
I think they're going to. But, now here's an interesting fact about Ray Phoenix and Penta. That a lot of people don't know, because a lot of them are familiar with them being in AEW as the Lucha Brothers, right? They actually have more of a single career than a tag team career together. They were tag teams for maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years, but most of their career is as single wrestlers. But I do agree with you, though. I would like to see them back together. Now, I'm also wondering, did Ray Phoenix piss somebody off in WWE when he got there? Because Penta has had much more of a winning career than Ray Phoenix has. Ray Phoenix seems to eat a lot of losses. Now, I know if Bob Cook was here, he would say, who cares? They're being featured, right? They're making money. And I agree. And it probably does matter more to us fans than the actual wrestler when it comes to wins and losses. But as someone that is a Ray Phoenix fan, man, I would just like to see him start to get more wins than losses. That's just me, though.
Right. Well, and I mean, yes and no to the wins and losses thing, but I'd have to disagree with Bob on it in there, and I will disagree with him, because we've all been backstage, and I will not mention names from WCW, but we've watched 3 people, and one was funny. He was a mid-card guy. He went on to be, bigger when he in a different company, but they told him whoever he was working, it was so long ago, I couldn't tell you who he was supposed to work, but the other guy was going over. He looked at him and went, I never lost to him, and I'm not losing tonight. And that went on for they went, no, he's going over. About 3 times. After the 3rd time, he was like, fuck you, I quit. And, and where the guy was making like $4,000 a week. I mean, I wanted, you could tell that all the head guys were pissed. You kind of wanted to go to him and go, hey, for an extra $500, I'll tell you what, every light bulb in this arena that needs to be replaced. I mean, it kind of blew my mind. Yes, I had been there for a while now, but you were like, the promoters tell you who's winning and who's losing. And right. I mean, we all have our go arounds, and there's nights, but there was a couple, and there, big names that were like that said that, and you were like, wow, really? You just kind of were blown away.
Right. Yep. Now,
so I mean, some guy, I think it's split down the middle. Some people, it matters to them, win, lose. Other ones don't care.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about Chelsea Green. I mean, Chelsea Green specifically said that I'll be whatever you want me to be because I like getting that money and I'm being featured. And I get it. That's why I said, as a wrestling fan, because I'm not a professional wrestler, I don't know what that means, professional wrestlers. I can only go by what people like Bob or you tell me. I can only speak as a wrestling fan. And as a wrestling fan, those wins matter to me, especially when it comes to talents that is your favorite.
Right.
Now, I do apologize because for some reason, when I printed this out from my notes, the backstage segments kind of, I noticed, disappeared. So let's talk about a couple of them. One of the backstage segments was R-Truth. R-Truth went and said, to the Raw, to SmackDown GM, I can never remember the guy's name. Aldis, yeah. Told Aldis, I really want to be in, the whole John Cena thing. And of course, R-Truth is back being the comic and said, I want to put my balls in your hands. And then Aldis explained that you're already in there. And R-Truth took his balls back and said, I don't want my balls touching your balls then.
Right.
Now, it was funny. Great. R-Truth is getting airtime, but this is where I'm confused. It wasn't that long ago that we don't know if it was a work or if it was legit that they let R-Truth go because of how it went down. But they brought him back and they turned him heel. We seen him do that phenomenal promo standing on the announcer's table where he cut off his dreads, or not his dreads, his whatever style of hair he had, right? Cut it off to be the new R-Truth. Fought John Cena, and then it's like they just dropped it, and they had something going with this, with turning him heel and R-Truth being this serious guy now. I hate when not just WWE does this, AEW does it as well. I hate when they do that. I hate when they actually gain momentum from a story and then they just forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, but you can see they're doing the same thing with Bayley too.
Right.
Yep. So I mean, again, creative, you don't, who knows where their heads are at,
Right.
Because you would think, okay, you see, okay, now we've got him as a heel and he's kind of getting over. Let's keep it going. And then all of a sudden now we drop the ball and we're just, we don't want to do that segment.
Right. I think the fans,
you should have ran with it.
Right. Look, I think the fans would have been apeshit. I know I would have popped for it if they would have actually had Cena in a match with R-Truth and had R-Truth actually beat Cena, not for the title, but beat him to actually face him instead of a Saturday night main event and actually PLE, right? And build up, have a storyline building up to that PLE. Because if that's all you want to do with R-Truth before turning him back to the comedian that he is backstage, at least use the momentum that you had at the time and have a longer storyline with him against John Cena. Now, like I said, he's back to doing what he's doing, and whatever. I mean, maybe R-Truth likes it. I don't know. I'm just talking from a fan's perspective. But Then we seen Nick Aldis pull the balls out to reveal the names who's going to be competing in the SmackDown aspect of who's going to possibly face John Cena for John Cena's final match. He mentioned one match, but then he pulled out a match, one of the contenders, which was LA Knight. And instead of reading who LA Knight was going to be facing, he decided to say, I'll wait to make this a surprise. Now, this is my concern. If they're going to go this route, I really hope that is a surprise and not some, body that's already there, basically, is like, really, why did you do this?
Who knows? Yeah, like you said, you hope it is a surprise. Hope it's like somebody just goes, "Oh, okay, this is who we're, this is who's coming in now," or whatever. Or is it like, okay, we got the build up. Now, when it comes time to announce this match, it's, whoever, and it's one of the guys that have been there or whatever, and it's not a big surprise, and you just like deflated that ball.
Right. Now I'm hoping that this is how they're going to bring Edge in, because I can tell you that if they bring Edge in, we already know who's going to take it out and who's going to be John Cena's final appointment. But this is also my problem. If they are planning on doing this, why are you doing it so soon? Why are you revealing it so soon? Because now you're going to ruin the rest of the tournament for me, right? Because
right,
we're going to know it's Edge. I mean, come on. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. Also backstage, we've seen The Miz do an interview. And I tell you, man, he had a point. He is two-time Grand Slam champion. He's beaten John Cena at a WrestleMania. Why do you need a tournament for a final person to face John Cena when he's standing right there? I am not the biggest Miz fan, but when shit makes sense, it just makes a little sense to me. I'm not complaining. I'm actually saying kudos for them for adding that, because it made me say, he's right.
Got to agree with you, on all of it. I'm not a Miz fan. You wonder, because he's been there for so long that, is the fans just don't care. It's, The Miz, and nothing against them. Obviously, credit to you for the longevity. You really didn't have you didn't have injuries, stuff like that. So, credit to you for being able to do this night in and night out and having the serious injuries and stuff. Yeah, totally makes sense. Okay, but, here's, why are we having this, when I'm right here.
Right. Now, I tell you, Miz went from being somebody that the locker room, at least most of the locker room, didn't take serious. He was a reality star that won a contest. They got him a contract. And I tell you, he must go to bed at night with a smile on his face, with the satisfaction of knowing he went from being a joke to a man who will absolutely be inducted one day into the WWE Hall of Fame, because he's had one hell of a career. And even though I may not be a big fan of his, I respect the hell out of him. I really do.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, you look at, to me, the best guy right now going, and I know Bob will disagree with me, and that's fine, whatever. You're wrong, Bob. I'm right. So, but it's Seth Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think he's the top guy in WWE, more so than Roman. Just the work, he can work a little bit. He's more of a worker. But now you go back to the poor guy just can't stay healthy.
Right.
gets on a roll, he's injured. Now he's injured again, and he's just had those injuries that he's, so he just can't stay healthy, which is sad because he's one of their top guys, but he just can't stay healthy.
Yep, that's true. Now going back to the Tonga versus Phoenix match, Tonga won the match with a choke slam. He once again went for another choke slam. We seen Sami Zayn, who, by the way, backstage segment again with Nick Aldis. Nick forbidding Sami Zayn from being at the ringside because he's not cleared yet. We've seen that, of course, Sami did not listen. He went there for the save to save Rey Fenix with a chair. This is my problem. I am so sick of seeing Sami Zayn basically in the same storyline that he's been in for the past 4 or 5 years now, involving what was Roman Reigns' group called? The faction. They were called, my mouth went blank.
Yeah, now I'm blank. Oh God.
Damn it. Yeah. The Bloodline.
What was it?
The Bloodline. Now
the Bloodline. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Now, granted, this is called My Family Tree. I get it, but it's still basically this. A few of the newer guys, but it's still basically the same thing, right? And I'm over it.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
Yes, I totally agree. My question is, though, how? I mean, you could almost start your own organization. You think when that's it, they keep bringing more in. They're like, okay, this one's this brother-in-law. This is, it's crazy. I mean, but yeah, I totally agree. It's just, it's a spinoff. Right. We could probably throw it the spinoff, and I'm not a fan of them, and it's probably because they just added an extra member. If you go down to NXT with Dark State, it's basically like the Shield, only we threw an extra guy in here.
Right.
And so I mean, I'm like, really. So I think you wonder again. We go back to the creative team. Are they just on cruise control?
Yeah, it's like, how many times can you go to the same well? I mean, granted, look, I understand that Solo is the only member of My Family Tree who he's the leader that was in the Bloodline, but it's still the same damn thing. It really is. And Solo, I'm just not a fan of Solo, man. He doesn't have the same charisma as his brothers. He definitely doesn't have the same charisma as Roman Reigns. Just not a fan of this guy.
Really? I will say he's improved. I actually think like having him as the leader and some of the promos he's cut, actually I've liked. I thought he's done well. To me, he's got like more personality than Jimmy or Jay.
Really?
I think he does. Yes. The way and some of the stuff he's done, like with some of the interviews and stuff, I thought he was funny. So I've seen the good side of him, I guess, where I don't mind him. I like him. I'd say I'm more of a fan of him than Jimmy and Jay. I think if you're going to do that spinoff, I think he's probably the right guy to do that. I like how at least he is the leader of it.
Right. And speaking of Jimmy and Jey Uso, going back to the Miz, of course, what we're going to be seeing is the Miz. He's going to be going against. Is it Jey Uso? I think they said he was going to go against.
I think so.
Yeah, which kind of threw me off because Jey Uso was part of Raw, right? So yeah. I thought this was a SmackDown brand thing of
because you're bringing in NXT guys and stuff too. So I think it's just here it is. We're gonna throw it in, roll the dice here, and whoever comes up. So I think they're blending all of them. they're going to blend all three because they had said they're bringing guys in from NXT in there as in the tournament too.
Right. But the way I thought they were doing it was the Raw guys first, first, SmackDown, the NXT, and then as they get to the finals, then we start getting the picture. But I guess I was wrong. But yeah, how do you feel about it being the Miz against Jey Uso? I will be shocked if Miz goes over. And I think that Miz should be the one who goes over and fights in this tournament a little bit longer, especially against someone like Jey Uso, only because of the history between the Miz and John Cena.
Yeah, totally agree. So I would think, you would think so, and you would think as long as, the Miz, I mean, they both have longevity in WWE, but I think Miz has more longevity. And considering where Miz came from, like you said, he was thought of as a joke, and and he, obviously he's done something right. Like you said, I totally respect him. Not a fan of him, but totally respect him. I mean, he's done a couple, when he's done a couple of his promos, like the one he did on Daniel Bryan, that was great, was awesome and stuff. So he can, and he stayed healthy and stuff. So you would think you would at least reward him with a little longer of a run.
Right. But even taking out longevity, go back again to the history, because the Miz had feuds with John Cena when John Cena was still in the midst of his heyday. That's why I think that the Miz shouldn't look. There is no delusion that it's going to be the Miz as John Cena's final guy, right? But I think that they should at least try to make people think that, just because of the history, by leaving him in the tournament a little bit longer. And I don't think that's going to happen. Again, I think it's going to be Uso that's going to beat the Miz. John says, hello, guys. John, thank you for joining. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. John also says, my props to Julia for dropping the U.S. title to Chelsea Green. I agree. I think Chelsea Green, the last time she had the title, was a better title holder than what Julia was. I don't know, man. I just think that Julia was hot at first, and the fans have just kind of gotten cold on her. I've even gotten cold on her. So don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Next.
What?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Creative just doesn't know how to use her.
I don't know, man. Yeah. I don't know. I honestly thought that maybe they were going to try to give her even a bigger push whenever they brought in Kiana James to be her manager because of the English barrier. But no, it was nothing.
Then they brought her up fast from NXT. They brought her up fast. So yeah, it's kind of surprising. You're hoping, not for her, you hope for her sake they just don't lose her on that roster now.
Right. Our friendly co-host on Thursday nights, Mr. Michael McCurdy, says, who is the babyface talking to Robbie Idol? That would be me, my friend. I get sick of my beard every 3 or 4 years and have to shave it. Don't worry, it'll grow back. Next, we go to the main event. Cody Rhodes versus Aleister Black. I tell you, at first I'm like, here we go again. We're going to put Aleister Black in this position only for him to lose, right? I liked it. They protected both Cody Rhodes and Aleister Black in this match. Decent match. Of course, we then get the interference by Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. I even like where they're trying to go with McIntyre by adding a new element by saying, dude, you're self-destructive. You literally are ruining your own career because the end of the show, we see Nick Aldis suspending McIntyre. Now, I tell you what I'm not crazy about is this whole thing with Damian Priest. I think I was really hoping that they were the storyline between Priest and Aleister Black, and maybe they still will go there, would be with Damian Priest joining Aleister Black, because Damian Priest as a babyface, in my opinion, is just not working at all. I think that a team of Damian Priest and Aleister Black would look phenomenal, in my opinion. What say you?
Never thought of that like that. I just don't think the way that they're using Damian as a baby, as a face, I don't think they're pushing him like you would push him.
Right.
You kind of put the strap on him and then all of a sudden you're taking it off, And so if you're thinking, okay, he's not, like you said, it's not doing it for you as a face, then why don't we figure out how we will turn him back to be in the heel and go from there? Never thought of teaming him up with Black. That would be, everybody steals from everybody. You bring up stuff from the past or whatever. So what would be kind of cool to see, and it is like they haven't done it, to see WWE start a thing, and bring in a few guys.
I agree.
Put a few other guys in.
Right. The whole thing with Aleister Black, because part of the storyline originally was Aleister Black trying to get Damian Priest to join him by beating the shit out of Damian Priest all the time. They just haven't gone there yet. By the way, Michael has said, have you guys talked about Charlotte? The basement dwellers around the world lost their minds last night when they saw a nipple. I got to tell you, honestly, I didn't hear about it, but we have been seeing a Flair nipple on TV for many, many years now. Of course, it was Ric Flair's nipples, but one Flair nipple is, pretty much all, whatever,
Right. Well, they blacked that segment out pretty good.
Yeah.
That's when the screen went black. That's when it went black.
Okay. You know what? Wrestling fans are so damn different from the way fans were when I was growing up. I mean, I have to scratch my head sometimes of, how did wrestling fans get to this point where they seem like they're just a bunch of little virgins trying to get a peek into the window of, a woman's boobie. It drives me nuts. Oh,
that's why they make porn, right? Isn't that why they make porn, for those kind of people?
Right. Yeah, Michael says still got our camera. I missed it. Like I said, I watched the replay of SmackDown. I very rarely am I able to watch SmackDown live. I'm hanging out with my family, and I usually watch it after they go to bed. So, but yeah, that was pretty much the end of SmackDown. It wasn't a terrible show. There was just parts of the show that just made it seem like it just drug a little bit too long for me. I mean, all in all, I'd probably give it a B. If I was rating it.
Well, and you a couple just like backstage things. I don't know, like whatever. You kind of wonder where they had, like, where the Wyatt Six, when the your favorite there, My Family Tree, was talking, and they came up from behind them, and you wonder, how come they're not really kind of pushing that one a little bit more,
right.
So like where they're not going, but I guess they didn't work last night, so maybe that's part of that. And then the other part where with Jade, where you do, she does play that heel, like as she was taught, where it was, who was it, Meechin and whatever, and they were all three are going, like Nick or going to the locker room and stuff, and she got into it with the two of them, and just like shows, okay, here's my heel side. So she did do that well, so those parts, it was like she didn't, where, like, I guess if you put her in the middle of the ring, like Jade, and make her have to talk, she's kind of brutal, but you kind of let her be herself. So you wonder, is she kind of like, okay, is she a bitch in real life? Right. She kind of played that part really well, she did well at it.
Yep, she does.
So,
Michael says SmackDown was decent. AEW is going to be the show to watch next week. Blood and Guts. I agree with you. Yes. I think the women are going to kill it in Blood and Guts. And again, we didn't get to talk about AEW this week. One thing that's really bugging me, something that they did, is you remember when Hook first came on the scene? This kid went undefeated and was beating everybody. Now all of a sudden he is tapping out in every match. What is going on here with that type of booking? When you do that, in my opinion, it's almost like you completely erase everything this kid was that you tried to make him be. By now, he's just tapping out. I don't get it.
You wonder, did he piss somebody off? Did Taz piss somebody off?
Right.
I mean, but like you said, because you looked, but again, we go back to a point I had made with Tony Khan. Same thing. Hook was not that, he's not a big kid, and you're putting him over big guys. And like you said, he was on fire, and week after week, he's pinning these guys left and right, and now he's tapping out. It's like, you wonder, you just wonder, do they really not know how to use some of their guys? I mean, you go to AEW, there are two guys I thought that they kind of screwed big time. Was Wardlow, but I've also seen some comments. They said he wasn't a good worker or whatever. I don't know, never worked with him, but I mean, he was that jacked guy, but the other guy that was jacked, and he looked like he could work. And for the size of him and the stuff he did, I mean, you go, wow, was Brian Cage. And the same thing, you had Brian Cage losing to these little guys.
Why in the world? I agree with you, man. That was a big complaint where they had Brian Cage with the Murder Hawk. And at first it started off strong. And then fucking Top Flight beats these guys. Are you kidding me? And nothing against Top Flight. I just seen them live. They were just back in Minneapolis, right? I got to meet them. Nice, good guys. They really are. And they're talented.
Right.
But come on. And I know professional wrestling is about suspending your disbelief. But it gets to the point that my disbelief can't be suspended that much. And for you to try to make me believe that Top Flight can beat Cage and the Murder Hawk, that's ridiculous. Especially when you're booking the guys as these killers. I mean, look at the packages they would do with the Murder Hawk when it was Jake the Snake Roberts, where he was just basically killing everybody just during training. But then he comes in and you have the guy constantly losing. I don't get it. I don't get having them being booked package-wise as these killers, but then they get into the ring and they're nothing. Don't understand it, man.
Right. Well, my issue started with AEW, and it'll take you back when MJF and Wardlow were together.
Yes.
And he had him with Punk. And the way they did it was just, you go, wow, me as, I would say now, okay, ex-professional wrestler, but as a fan now, going, I could come up with a better finish if you were going to do this. And you're going to, after Wardlow power bombs CM Punk 20 times, and he's power bombed them through 2 or 3 tables and stuff, and then he still gets small packaged. It was like, why wouldn't you have you're trying to set up a feud here with MJF and Wardlow. Why wouldn't you have, if you're going to have Wardlow lose, why wouldn't you have had him, MJF did something to cost Wardlow that match instead of, out of nowhere, CM Punk small packages and pins him. The dude should be, they should be carrying him out in a stretcher after all those power bombs. And that's where I kind of had, I had an issue with it and started kind of losing a little bit of issue and stuff. I'm like, who's coming up with this stuff?
Right. No, I agree with you. look, is false finishers or false finishers, are they exciting? They are, a couple of them, but they get ridiculous with it. When you get to that point, as you're pointing out, 20 of those freaking bombs, right? And you still can't beat the man. What happens is you make the next opponents look weak whenever they face them, or you make you could really say you make Wardlow looking weak by, say, CM Punk going in and getting finished by a guy the first time, this first finisher, right? Then you make Wardlow look weak by saying, so 20 power bombs compared to a regular guy's just one finish wasn't good enough. Yeah, I agree. And the fact that they didn't keep Wardlow on TV after this feud, which the feud between him and MJF ended terribly to begin with, but then Wardlow just disappeared as well. Why? He has so much momentum going. Yeah, I completely agree with you. But I will say this, though, and it's not an excuse, it's just true. AEW is still a young company. I hope that they figure out all these kinks, because I don't want to see AEW go anywhere. I don't want to see NWA, TNT. I don't want to see any of these promotions going anywhere, because having all of these different promotions is great if you're a wrestling fan, because there's a lot of wrestling out there. Right. But it's also great for the talent, because now they have options, not to mention all the other people, the camera crews, the ring guys, all these people that are now getting jobs. They have jobs. I don't want to see these companies go under. So I really hope that they do figure this out, because AEW has amazing pay-per-views. I just wish that they could have amazing weekly shows, to be honest with you. I don't know what happens between the pay-per-views and weekly shows, because the weekly shows really do lack a lot.
Right. Also throw in on that, and you'd love to see another company, like, or you want to see like AEW, Ring of Honor, all those companies kind of push, because I think WWE's on cruise control. That right challenge them. I mean, all the reasons that you said are all perfect, but you also want that company. Like, to me, back in the day, we'll throw Bob's name in here again. He would totally disagree with me, but you had WCW, you had ECW, you had WWF, whatever. I honestly think ECW pushed them both, because they started getting a fan base that now ECW gave you everything. They gave you wrestling. They gave you the mat. They gave you some comedy stuff, and they gave you the hardcore. So you knew week in and week out, this is what I'm getting. And I think they started getting a fan base, and a lot of people, yes, like, your guys that, I just love the old stuff, that they didn't like the ECW stuff. But ECW had something for everybody. Right. And I think they pushed those. Now you had to step your game up, because wow, they're getting a little, the ratings are going up on us. So now you have to step your game up. I would love to see another company come in. I just wish, or see AEW or, Ring On or somebody just start pushing it to make everybody in, back there and creative with WWE and stuff. I just think they're kind of on cruise control, because it's just almost the same product week in and week out. And you'd love to see them say, okay, now we're going to have to step it up a little bit, because now we're getting pushed.
Absolutely. Competition is good. Competition is not bad. Competition is good, because it pushes one another. Absolutely. But that wraps up the podcast, guys. Monday, Robbie Idol will be back with me. This time, though, we will be focusing on Robbie Idol. It's kind of be part 2 of his first interview. We will be going more in detail about his book, guys. So don't miss that. Please subscribe to the podcast. And then on Tuesday, Bob Cook, myself, Robbie Idol, maybe Gerald, we will be back discussing Monday Night Raw. What kind of show was it? Did we like it? Did we hate it? Who knows? Very different opinions on the same show. Great conversation. So again, please subscribe to the podcast. Robbie and I's Idol. Robbie and I's interview, damn it, will be at 6 p.m. Central. Brian, I have the Brian Idol and the Robbie Idol is too much to me. Right. You guys need to have a match about who the real idol is.
But you might have to say, bring him out of retirement, bring in Austin Idol. And then for all the other people that are saying this, you might have to throw Billy Idol in there too and have a 4-way dance.
Absolutely, guys.
Let's find out.
You guys have a great weekend. Robbie, is always a pleasure. Always a pleasure having conversations with you.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. You guys
have a good one.
Have a great rest of your Saturday.